Revealed, the incredible moment I found strength after my husband abandoned me at his mom's party. Sarah stood in the grand ballroom filled with laughter and sparkle, but all she felt was a raw ache in her chest. The sound of clinking glasses and bursts of laughter seemed to mock her as she searched for Matt's familiar face. Her heart jumped when she finally spotted him, only to watch him turn his back on her in a moment that would forever change everything. Betrayal. Just like that, the man she loved, the partner she thought she knew, walked out of her life and left her in the swirling chaos of his family's extravagant celebration. Tears threatened to spill as judgmental whispers surrounded her, relatives clad in pearls and tailored suits. "Did you see how she's dressed?" one voice hissed, drawing her eyes to the shimmering gowns around her. She felt so small amidst the glitz. She was just a devoted mother in an understated dress, trying to teach her kids the value of honesty and hard work. While they embodied affluence and facade, she wrestled with feelings of inadequacy. Taking a deep breath, Sarah willed herself to stand tall in the center of the opulent room. Heart racing, she seized a glass of champagne, pretending to engage in the festivities, but inside she was crumbling. Later, as the party continued around her, she could hardly remember if it even mattered anymore. All she could feel was the burden of abandonment created by Matt's sudden departure. Those first days felt like days of survival. She was now navigating the endless to-do lists of motherhood alone. The children needed breakfast, school, after-school activities, and all the while, her heart ached. To her surprise, Sarah discovered a wellspring of resilience she never knew she had. Neighbors arrived with meals, offering a smile and a word of encouragement. The warmth of their hugs began to envelop her, filling the cracks in her heart just a bit. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Eventually, the subtle sense of community turned into something more powerful as Sarah joined a local fundraiser at the community center, meant to support local schools. There she found herself in a room with many familiar faces, including those of Matt's relatives, who stood in tight clusters, exchanging knowing glances. Old judgment simmered just under the surface. One relative looked at her and smirked, "She's doing it all alone now. How sad." The whispers stung like a bee's sting, igniting a fire inside her. Suddenly she felt heated, fury rising as all the silent years of being judged hung heavy on her shoulders. She stepped forward, unveiling the strength that had been hidden beneath the self-doubt. "You think you know success? It's not just about wealth and status. It's the love I give my kids every single day. It's the joy of having neighbors who support me in my time of need." Their faces paled as the room buzzed with the realization of her boldness. Could her fierce refusal to be belittled finally shake their perceptions? The air around her snapped with tension, leaving her shaken and alive at once. As whispers of disbelief mixed with admiration spread, Sarah faced an uncertain future. Had she truly opened a door that couldn't be closed? Would her moment of transparency lead to acceptance, or would it push her deeper into solitude? The answer lingered in the air, leaving Sarah and the audience anxiously awaiting what would come next. The chatter faded around Sarah as she stood her ground, her heart still racing. Could she really have made them rethink their opinions of her in just a few pointed words? The weight of their judgment felt exhausting, but somehow, she also felt liberated. With each moment she spent in their presence, the swirling doubts inside her began to quiet. A few of those harsh faces softened, showing glimmers of respect that she hadn't expected. She realized that she wasn't just fighting for herself, she was standing up for the single mothers everywhere who felt diminished and voiceless. That a gentle voice broke through her reverie. "You're absolutely right, Sarah. It's not about the money." It was Claire, an old neighbor who always wore a bright smile. As she joined Sarah's side, others began to nod in silent agreement. "I've been through tough times, too. We're stronger together," Claire added, opening the door for the others to join in. Sarah's heart swelled as a few more women approached, sharing their own stories of hardship, divorce, and resilience. The layers of shame began to peel away. All the women in the room had their own battles. Suddenly, the space felt electric with shared experiences and camaraderie. Laughter punctuated the air, and as they spoke, Sarah felt the warmth of hope blossoming in her chest. For the first time since Matt had left, Sarah didn't feel invisible. She felt like a warrior among warriors. Each story shared became a thread that wove them together, a tapestry of strength in the face of adversity. Realizations washed over her. This was her journey now. She could forge her own path, embrace her identity as a strong mother, and teach her children the values she cherished. As the fundraiser moved forward, Sarah threw herself into organizing activities, finding joy in the purpose. She didn't just want to survive, she wanted to live. Ideas flowed like the champagne she once held in trembling hands, sparkling and effervescent. Exhilaration washed over her as she engaged the crowd, inviting them to share not just money, but laughter and inspiration. The room teemed with energy, each individual's passion igniting another's, a collective fire lighting the way. But as the night wound down, reality struck. There, lurking at the edge of her newfound confidence, lay the specter of Matt's betrayal. She saw the way his relatives whispered, still skeptical of her resolve. Would they ever truly see her? Would they accept her beyond this temporary show of strength? As she made her way home, exhaustion wrapped around her like a familiar blanket. The streetlights cast a warm glow, illuminating the path ahead. Could she hold on to this fire? The laughter from the night echoed in her mind, a distant but potent melody. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a text from Matt. "I miss you. Can we talk?" Her heart dropped. Everything she had built during the fundraiser felt threatened now. Would this be a step backward? The question twisted in her gut, beckoning her to choose between the familiar pain of betrayal and the exhilarating possibility of embracing the woman she was becoming. What should she do next? As the shadows danced around her, Sarah knew she stood at a crossroads, and the choice she made could shape not just her future, but her children's as well. Would she open the door to forgiveness, or would she close it for good? Sarah's heartbeat pounded in her ears, drowning out the world around her. She stood at a crossroads, seeing the warmth of the glowing streetlights flicker in the cold night. Matt's message hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. What did he want? Did he regret leaving, or was he just looking for comfort in a moment of loneliness? The swirling emotions inside her felt like a tempest. A part of her was tempted. After all, love had been a narrative etched deep in her heart for years, hardened but not broken. But then she thought of the strength she'd just discovered. Her mind flashed back to the laughter, the shared stories, and the bonds she built with women who had transformed their pain into shared resilience. She tapped the screen to open the message, and stared. Each word felt like a tether pulling her back to the life she had fought to redefine. She pictured him, his smile, his charm, the way he used to make her feel that comforting aura. But then it struck her. Those good moments hadn't erased the hurt. The late nights alone, the tears she'd shed, the feelings of abandonment, those memories weighed more than the nostalgia of their past. Taking a deep breath, she thumbed out a reply. "What do you want to talk about, Matt?" It was simple, but it held a world of weight. She pressed send, watching her phone as if it might explode with the tension. A moment passed, then another, and finally her phone buzzed again. "Can we meet? I really miss you." That twisted at her gut. Did he miss her, or did he miss having someone to lean on? It was a vexing thought. Suddenly, she remembered her children. Their laughter filled her memories like a warm sun on a chilly day. When did she last feel like their role model? She was evolving, owning her identity, and they were watching her every move. Would meeting Matt undo everything she was working so hard for? Would it complicate the fragile progress she had made? Another buzz interrupted her train of thought. A group text from Claire and the others, planning a coffee meetup for tomorrow. Sarah felt warmth creep back into her heart. "Hey all. I'm in. Let us keep this momentum going," she typed quickly. Each letter was a reminder that she wasn't alone. She had incredible support. But Matt's question still loomed in her mind. Did she have it in her to confront him? To lay bare how his departure had changed her, molded her? Could she find the courage to draw healthy boundaries while still honoring the history they shared as a family? As she walked toward her front door, each step felt heavier. She offered herself a moment of stillness. This was more than making a decision about a meeting, it was about reclaiming her narrative. Finally, she decided. Tomorrow she would meet with Claire and the others, but she wouldn't shy away from addressing Matt. She deserved clarity, both for herself and for her children. With a flick of her wrist, she closed her phone and took a deep breath. Tomorrow would be a busy day. How would she find the right words to help Matt understand the impact of what he had done? The thought hung in the air, electric and charged. As she stepped inside her home, a calm washed over her. She was ready to face the man who once made her feel safe. But deep down, she knew this wasn't just about forgiveness, it was about rediscovery. What would she learn when they finally came face to face? Would Matt be the anchor she'd hoped for, or just another wave crashing on her shores? Sarah knew she had to prepare herself. The moment of reckoning was close at hand, and whatever happened could change everything once again. The sun peeked through the curtains, casting a gentle glow in Sarah's kitchen. She stood at the counter, coffee brewing, her mind spinning like a cyclone. The distant laughter of her kids playing in the living room was soothing, an anchor to the reality she desperately wanted to maintain. Today felt different. The coffee smelled stronger, as if it was infused with the courage she needed. She poured herself a cup, savoring the warmth in her hands. But the thought of her meeting with Matt hung over her like storm clouds. She glanced at the clock. Soon she would be sitting in a cafe, awkwardly fumbling for words that could express the intricate layers of hurt and healing she had endured since he walked away. Would he recognize the strength she had found, or would he still see her as the woman who needed saving? Her phone buzzed again, startling her. A message popped up from Claire. Excited to see you today. It's been a while since we all got together. There was a warmth in Claire's words, a reminder of the support that surrounded her. Sarah smiled, typing back quickly. Can't wait. We have so much to catch up on. But her heart raced at the thought of later. What would Claire say if she knew about Matt's message? What would her friends think of her decision to meet him? As the clock ticked down, she dressed carefully, choosing a soft blue sweater that reminded her of peaceful skies, a direct contrast to her inner turmoil. Looking in the mirror, she took a deep breath, trying to steel herself for the conversations ahead. Claire's vibrant laughter greeted her as soon as she walked into the cafe. Her friends were gathered around a large wooden table, the smell of baked goods filling the air. As Sarah joined them, all the stress seemed to dissipate. She could feel the encouraging energy surrounding her, lifting her spirits. Sarah. It's so good to see you. Emily beamed, hugging her tightly. Yeah, how's it going? You look amazing. Claire gushed, and Sarah couldn't help but smile back, absorbing the warmth of their admiration. For the next hour, the conversation flowed effortlessly, ranging from work gossip to school updates. Yet, every time Sarah tried to speak, she felt the weight of what loomed ahead. The casual banter felt almost frivolous against the deeper stirrings in her heart regarding Matt. How could she share her truth here, when shadows of doubt and anger still haunted her? Just then, Claire leaned in closer. Hey, is everything okay? You seem a little distant. Her concern was genuine, like a sister looking out for her sibling. With a hesitant sigh, Sarah glanced around the table, her thoughts spilling out before she fully processed them. I got a message from Matt last night. The room fell quiet, and she could feel every pair of eyes on her. Matt? Emily echoed, her voice almost a whisper. Yeah, he wants to meet. The words felt heavy, like stones thrown into a still pond, sending ripples throughout the discussion. The reaction was immediate. Supporters rallied around her with questions and encouragement, but Sarah felt exposed. She struggled to articulate her feelings, caught between wanting their support and the deep-seated fear of reopening old wounds. Do you think this is a good idea? Claire finally asked, her gaze steady and reassuring. "I don't know," Sarah said slowly. "Part of me thinks it could help, but another part is scared it'll drag me back to a place I fought so hard to escape." The conversation shifted as her friends shared their own experiences, expressing the weight of balance between holding on and letting go. It was a touching moment, and as she listened, a flame sparked in her heart. Maybe sitting with Matt wouldn't be about reopening the past, but figuring out how to walk forward. With renewed clarity, Sarah realized she was no longer the woman stuck in the shadows of heartbreak. She was ready to embrace whoever she would find in that cafe with Matt, not just for herself, but for her children too. The meeting wasn't just about him, it was also about redefining her own path. And as she shared her revelations, the sun poured in through the window, bright and golden, illuminating the hope stirring within her. But still, a question lingered when they sat across from each other. Would Matt recognize the woman who had emerged from the storm? Tomorrow would hold the answers, and Sarah felt the anticipation rise within her. Whatever happened, she was ready for it. The following day dawned, bright and clear, as if the universe itself was sending Sarah encouragement. She felt a flutter of nerves in her stomach as she prepared her kids for school. The morning chaos was a delightful distraction. Breakfast was a rush of cereal spills and hasty shoes being tugged on. Yet, with every giggle and hug, her heart thudded against her ribs, remembering the meeting with Matt later. "Mommy, can I have 2 cookies today?" Her youngest, Lily, asked, her big eyes sparkling with mischief. "Only if you promise to save me one." Sarah laughed, ruffling her hair before ushering them out the door. There was no denying how much she loved these moments. They grounded her, reminding her why she was still striving for more. As she watched the school bus pull away, a wave of pride washed over her. She had come a long way since the storm had ripped through her life, and now she was standing on firmer ground. Back at home, Sarah took a long, deep breath. Time seemed to stand still, each tick of the clock amplifying her anxiety. She tried to distract herself. The dishes needed washing. The laundry was piling up. But even the mundane tasks felt surreal, as if a spotlight was shining on her decisions today. Finally, she pushed everything aside, allowing herself to bask in memories, the happy moments and the painful ones. By the time afternoon arrived, she found herself wrestling with her thoughts. Would Matt see the changes in her? She might have emerged stronger, but the lingering whispers of self-doubt clouded her confidence. Rolling her shoulders back, she poured herself another cup of coffee, hoping it would help quell the storm churning inside her. Finally, it was time. The drive to the cafe stirred a cocktail of emotions. She caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, those words an anchor against the rising tide of uncertainty. When she entered the cafe, the familiar scent of roasted coffee embraced her like an old friend. She scanned the room, her heart pounding as her eyes fell on Matt sitting at a corner table. He looked just as she remembered, tall and handsome, yet somehow fragile under the weight of what had come between them. That he spotted her and stood up, an awkward grin stretching across his face. Sarah managed a smile, though it felt somewhat strained. "Hey," she said, stepping closer. "Hey." His voice was soft, laced with the unmistakable tremor of uncertainty. They slid into the small booth, the space between them seemed charged with unspoken words. "Thanks for agreeing to meet," he started, his fingers nervously toying with the edge of the table. Sarah took a deep breath. "I needed to, I guess." As the conversation stumbled forward, old wounds mingled with new revelations. Matt's apology came wrapped in regret, his eyes reflecting years of pain and loss. Sarah felt that familiar ache tugging at her heart, but something astonishing happened. Instead of drowning in those memories, she found herself rising above them, feeling a newfound lightness. "I've changed," she said, the words feeling liberating as they crossed her lips. "I'm not the woman I was when you left. I've had to fight for my happiness and for our kids." Her resolve surprised him, and she could see the dawning realization in his expression. The woman sitting across from him was not the fragile thing he once knew. This was someone who had stepped directly into the storm, faced it, and emerged with strength. But even amid their honest exchange, a question bubbled beneath the surface, gnawing at Sarah. Could he truly understand the breadth of her transformation? Would he be able to accept the woman she had become? As a silence fell between them, her heart raced. The moment felt electric, charged with possibility, but also uncertainty. Would Matt embrace the new Sarah, or would he cling to the shadows of their past? Tomorrow would bring more revelations, and Sarah understood this was just the beginning. But one truth stood firmly in her mind: whomever Matt chose to be in her life moving forward, she would be walking a path of her own, one that she had carved from the ashes of heartbreak. The silence lingered, thick and heavy. Sarah felt her heart beating in her ears, the noise of the cafe fading into a distant hum. Matt's gaze bore into her like a curious child searching for answers. She could see the questions swimming behind his eyes. "Who are you now?" "Sarah," he finally said, his voice hesitant. "I never meant to hurt you. You have to know that." She nodded, fighting the lump in her throat. Words felt inadequate to bridge this gap. Years turned into a chasm. Yet he reached across, his hand brushing hers on the table, a touch that sent a jolt through her. "That night, those things I said, Matt swallowed hard, his brow furrowed with regret. "I didn't mean it. I was scared." "Scared of what, Matt?" Her voice trembled, a mix of anger and sadness rolling over her. "Of us? Of being a father? Because you walked away and left me to pick up those pieces alone." His eyes widened, the truth stinging both of them. "I know. I'm so sorry." "Sorry isn't enough." A spark of fire ignited within her. "I fought through darkness alone. That fear you had? It crushed me. I had to find my own way, and it was brutal." A heavy silence followed. She could see him wrestling with the enormity of her words. He clenched his fists, a wave of emotion crashing over him. "What can I even say to make this right?" he asked softly, desperation etched across his features. In that moment, Sarah caught a glimpse of the boy she once knew. He had always been charming but terribly flawed. Now, sitting before her, he seemed lost, yet there was a flicker of determination in his eyes. "You want to make it right?" she countered, her voice steady. "You support me from here on out. This time, be the man I need, a father for our girls." "I want that," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. "But can you really trust me again?" Trust. The word hung between them, a fragile thread. She wanted to scream yes, to let go of the past and wrap him up in her love, but the scars sat heavy on her heart. Feeling vulnerable, Sarah looked away, summoning the strength she had cultivated over the years. "Honestly, I'm not sure," she admitted, leaning back. "But I do know I can't keep going back to who I used to be just to make things comfortable for you. If you're in this, you have to be all in." Matt nodded, the reality of her words washing over him. "Let me prove it to you," he said, determination sharpening his features. "I'll show you, I can be the man you need." A mixture of hope and skepticism bubbled inside her. What if he means it? What if he can change? But doubt lingered like a phantom, reminding her of past disappointments. Still, a part of her longed for the bond they once shared. "Let's take it one day at a time," Sarah replied, her voice softer now, yet laced with resolve. "I need to see that you're committed, not just to me, but to this family." The tension lightened momentarily, a sense of cautious optimism creeping into the space between them. They spoke a little more, wrapping words around dreams and fears, slowly rediscovering each other beneath layers of time. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much longer journey. As they finished their drinks, the night began to cast shadows against the cafe windows. Sarah felt a stirring hope but also an iron weight pressing down. "Steel yourself," she thought. Tomorrow will bring new challenges as they navigate this uncertain terrain together. Could this really lead to something meaningful again? She took a deep breath, pondering the answers that remained tantalizingly out of reach. As they walked outside, the cool evening air met her, wrapping around them like a new promise, fragile yet potent. But just as Sarah was about to step forward, she caught sight of someone familiar across the street, lingering in the darkness. A stranger? A ghost from her past? She froze, the moment stretching taut. Who was it, and why did their presence set off alarm bells in her mind? Her heart raced as uncertainty flooded back, drawing a line in the sand. What would this turn of events mean for her and Matt? Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The figure standing across the street was unmistakable. Beneath the failing streetlight, a familiar silhouette with a haunting smile that stirred both memories and regrets. It was Emily, her older sister, who had confronted her about Matt before. The last time they spoke, things had ended in a heated argument about family loyalty and choices made in confusion. Sarah? Matt's voice broke into her thoughts, concern knitting his brows together. She could see him shifting anxiously, sensing the rising tide of anxiety in her. He followed her gaze to where Emily stood, his features darkening with recognition. What is she doing here? He asked, uncertainty lacing his tone. I don't know, Sarah murmured, her heartbeat ringing in her ears like a warning bell. Emily took a step forward, her expression unreadable. Their sisterly bond had always been complicated, filled with unsaid words and dreams fizzled to ash. But there was something deeper at play now. Sarah felt a push from within, an urge to resolve this unfinished business. Maybe she needs to talk, she suggested, though her stomach churned with anticipation. Matt looked hesitant. Are you sure? You've just started. I have to face her, Sarah interrupted, her voice firm yet trembling. I can't keep running from my past. Not anymore. Taking a breath, she stepped toward the street, the churning emotions inside her colliding violently. Each step felt heavier, yet oddly liberating. Emily was her sister, her blood, and despite everything, Sarah yearned for understanding. As she approached, Emily crossed her arms tightly, a shield against the outside world. So, you're back with him? She asked, her voice icy yet layered with concern. Sarah braced herself. It's complicated, Em. I don't expect you to understand. I wish I could, Emily snapped back, her barriers well defended. He hurt you. I can't believe you're considering it again. The air crackled between them, charged with years of misunderstandings and buried emotions. But Sarah remembered what she had just told Matt, to be all in meant embracing her truth, even if it made others uncomfortable. Honestly, I'm scared too, Sarah confessed, the weight of the admission pulling her down. But I deserve a chance to find out if we can make it work. Even if it's shaky. Emily's expression softened slightly. You're not that girl anymore. You don't need him. I don't need him, but maybe I want him, Sarah replied, heat rising in her chest. And it's different this time. I'm different. She glanced back at Matt, who stood just off to the side, wrestling with his own worries. And what if he hurts you again? Emily pressed on, concern flooding her voice. That's the risk, isn't it? Sarah said, meeting her sister's gaze fiercely. We take risks for the ones we love. I can't live in fear of the what-ifs forever. Silence stretched between them, the barriers slowly starting to crack, revealing the tender sisterly bond that lay beneath. There was a vulnerability in Emily's eyes that stirred something deep in Sarah. She could feel her sister's love fighting against the instinct to protect her. I just want what's best for you, Emily said finally, a sigh escaping her lips. But you have to do what feels right for you. Thank you, Sarah whispered, the weight lifting slightly. The air felt lighter now, shared burdens easing just a touch. As they exchanged tentative smiles, a determination began to shape in Sarah's heart, one that came with rekindled hope. But amid the peace, the tension with Matt remained. Are you sure you want to go through with this? He asked quietly, stepping closer, his voice a mix of hope and fear. More than ever, she replied, knowing full well that the road ahead was still riddled with uncertainty. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the street, jolting them from their moment. A car had collided with a dumpster just down the block, shattering the stillness of the night. Sarah's heart raced again. In a world where everything felt fragile, the unexpected was lurking around every corner. What had started as a simple reunion was rapidly spiraling into something dangerously unpredictable. As the shadows deepened around them, Sarah understood that the real test was only beginning. Could she truly forge ahead with Matt, against all odds? The possibilities crept closer, each heartbeat a reminder of the choices yet to be made. And with each passing second, she felt the weight of the world shift, as something profoundly transformative awaited just beyond her grasp. Sarah's heart raced as the echo of the crash faded into the distance, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. She stood frozen, her face turned toward Emily, who was searching her eyes for answers, or maybe for reassurance. "Are you okay?" Matt's voice broke the stillness again. He edged closer, worry etched across his features. I'm fine," Sarah managed, though she knew her pulse pounded so loudly it must have been audible. She glanced back at Emily, who remained in defensive mode, arms crossed and brows knitted. Before she could gather her thoughts, Emily spoke again. "We can't just stand out here. Come on, let us talk somewhere else." As she turned, Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. It was an invitation to continue their conversation, to dig deeper. With Matt at her side, Sarah fell into step behind Emily, who led them to a small park nearby. The flickering streetlight cast shaky shadows on the ground, blending with the cool evening air that danced around them. They settled on a weathered bench, and the tension that had built all night almost made the wood creak beneath them. Emily sat first, sighing as she glanced at the ground. "I don't want to fight," she said quietly. "But you need to understand my fear." "I do," Sarah replied softly, her heart opening with every word. "I know you love me and you want to protect me. I don't want to go back to how we were." The churning inside her calmed a little as vulnerability seeped in, the weight of her sister's love feeling palpable. "Then why take that risk?" Emily's voice was strained, a mix of concern and frustration. "Don't you see how reckless it is? You were heartbroken, Sarah. I don't want to see you go through that pain again." Taking a breath, Sarah felt the words swirling up like bubbles in a shaken soda. "I have to find my way through this, Em. I want to reclaim my choices and not let fear dictate my life." Matt's presence was a comfort, his eyes encouraging her to keep going. She leaned forward, her heart in her throat. "You've always been the protective one. Now, I need you to trust me. I need you to believe I can make my own decisions, even if they aren't right to you." The moment hung thick in the air, and even the distant sounds of the park, a dog barking, kids laughing, seemed muted. Emily turned, her eyes glistening in the dim light, and for the first time, Sarah saw the uncertainty there. "I just can't help but worry that he'll hurt you again and that I want to be able to protect you." "I love you for wanting to do that," Sarah whispered, her own tears stinging her eyes. "But I have to trust myself now. That means stepping out and risking it all, even if it scares the hell out of me." A soft smile broke through Emily's worried expression. "You sound so sure of yourself, but I still see that scared girl inside. It's like she's hiding, isn't she?" "I think we all have that scared part," Matt chimed in, leaning in closer. "But the real test is what we do with it. Sarah, if you want to fight for this," he paused, searching her gaze, "I will be right here with you. No matter what happens." Warmth filled Sarah at his words. The conversation had shifted from argument to unity, a fragile connection forming anew. She took a moment to absorb it, feeling a newfound strength blooming within her, but just as the haze began to lift, the world erupted again. A shrill siren pierced the night, growing louder as it approached. Neighbors peeked through their curtains, and an uneasy tension gripped the air. "What now?" Emily muttered, scanning the street for the source. Matt stood up, frowning. "This doesn't feel right. Should we stay or go?" "Let us find out what's happening," Sarah said, pushing herself to her feet. She could feel the momentum shifting once again, uncertainty creeping back into the edges of their newly minted peace. As they approached the street, Sarah sensed the fragile threads binding them starting to fray. This was the world she had to navigate, this was the unpredictability of life laid bare before her. Taking a deep breath, she whispered to herself, "It's just a test." But what would this chaos reveal about her desires, her relationships, her future? With her heart rebounding against her ribs, she knew the answers were lurking just around the corner, waiting to be uncovered. Sarah felt the tension in the air crackling like static electricity. As they reached the edge of the street, headlights from emergency vehicles spilled across the pavement, illuminating their faces in sharp contrast to the darkness surrounding them. Her heart raced once more, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "What happened?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Matt replied, his brow furrowed. "Let us just keep our distance, okay?" But Sarah couldn't just stand back. She needed to know what lurked behind the flashes of red and blue that painted the night. Ignoring the protests from her sister and Matt, she stepped closer to see the commotion that a small crowd had gathered at the intersection. Their murmurs sparked curiosity, fear, and urgency. The officers spoke with a sense of authority that seemed to calm some of the panic. But Sarah also spotted a familiar face in the crowd, a friend from high school, Jessica, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Jessica!" Sarah called out, her voice shaking. When their eyes met, Sarah felt a rush of compassion. "What is going on?" Jessica turned, her face pale with worry. "I don't know. I think someone got hurt really badly." A knot tightened in Sarah's stomach. She reached out, gripping Emily's arm tightly. "We have to know," she insisted, her words firm despite the dread creeping in. Emily hesitated, fear swirling in her eyes, but Matt nodded slowly, drawing both of them forward. As they moved closer, Sarah could see a gurney being wheeled toward the ambulance. The figure on it was covered in a blanket, the starkness of the white against dark clothing an alarming contrast. The noise of sirens and murmuring grew distant as Sarah felt her own heartbeat in her ears. Jessica's voice trembled beside her. It was Mark. He had an accident on his way home. He was drunk, and when the police tried to stop him her words trailed off, choked by emotions. Sarah's stomach dropped. Mark was a classmate who'd always been the life of the party, always laughing, always the one with the wild stories. "I can't believe it," Emily whispered, visibly shaken. Matt took a deep breath, scanning their surroundings. "Maybe we should back off. This is not our place to intrude." The three of them stood frozen, caught in a moment that felt surreal. Sarah's thoughts spiraled back to her own pain, the sting of betrayal still fresh even as she faced this harrowing reality. Dark thoughts crossed her mind. Could anyone be so reckless, so careless? Suddenly, Jessica turned to Sarah, her eyes desperate. "You have to talk to him. I know you both had a thing back in the day. Maybe he would listen to you." The suggestion lodged itself in Sarah's heart. The weight of their past clashed with her present resolution to move on. Yet, how could she ignore a call for help, especially knowing Mark had been spiraling? Would it mean sacrificing the progress she'd just begun? A murmur rose among the crowd as the paramedics urged people to step back, but Sarah felt rooted to the spot. It was as if the universe had orchestrated this moment, offering a test of her resolve, a challenge to her healing. "Do I help him, or do I protect myself?" she thought, grappling with the swirling emotions inside her. Yet, the answer danced just out of reach, hidden in the chaos and the fear. As they reassessed the scene, another ambulance arrived, and with it, a wave of urgency washed over the crowd. Sarah felt the world around her slipping, the connection to Emily and Matt loosening. "I have to do this," she declared, surprising even herself. Before she could second-guess her decision, she stepped forward, breaking free from the safety net of her friends. Their shocked expressions faded behind her as Sarah pushed through the throng of anxious onlookers. "Sarah! Wait!" Matt's voice called out, but her path felt certain, driven by an instinct she could no longer ignore. What awaited her in that moment could change everything, but she had to face the unknown. As she approached the scene, determination coursed through her. Would she find the strength she desperately needed? The tension painted the air thick as her heart pounded ever louder. What would this unexpected encounter stir within her? As she neared Mark, ready to confront the past, she whispered to herself, "This is my moment to reclaim my path." But even as she stepped closer, a new question flickered in her mind. Would helping him mean losing her own sense of self? As Sarah stepped through the crowd, the reality of the situation hit her like a tidal wave. The paramedics worked diligently over Mark, their focused faces revealing the seriousness of his condition. People around her murmured, their faces a mix of horror and concern. But above the noise, all she could hear was the racing of her own heart. Sarah. Emily's voice broke through the chaos, but she didn't turn back. She couldn't. An old connection surged within her, both a pull and a responsibility. Mark had once been a bright light in her life, now, he flickered like a candle in the storm. She broke through the last few steps, her determination solidifying into sheer purpose. Mark. She called out, her voice cutting through the murmur of the crowd. He looked up, his eyes wide and glazed, the weight of his past evident in his stricken expression. Sarah? What are you doing here? He slurred, confusion clouding his gaze. She knelt beside him, brushing a strand of hair off his forehead. His skin was clammy, but he was here, and somehow, that gave her strength. I'm here for you, she began, her heart pounding with both fear and hope. You're going to be okay. But you have to fight back. You need to face this. Fight? He rasped, pain gritting his teeth. I messed up, so bad I know, she whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. It wasn't just for him, it was also for her, the raw pain of shared memories flooding back. But this isn't the end. You can turn it around, just like I did. We all have a choice. As the paramedics slid the gurney into the awaiting ambulance, Mark locked eyes with her, and a flicker of acknowledgement sparked between them. Sarah felt a swell of emotions. This was no longer just about him, it was about facing their shared past. Behind her, Emily and Matt exchanged concerned glances. Both seemed hesitant, caught between wanting to pull her away and supporting her fight. But Sarah pushed any weight from their stare deep down. This was her moment, and she wouldn't let fear dictate her choices anymore. She leaned closer to Mark, lowering her voice so only he could hear. You can start fresh, I promise. You need to take care of yourself. Reach out for help. You're not alone. Mark nodded slowly, uncertainty still shadowing his features. Will you be there? He asked, vulnerability leaking through his bravado. I will, she assured him, feeling the warmth of hope blossoming in her chest. You've got a whole community behind you. Just take the step. With that, the paramedics finished securing him to the stretcher. As they wheeled him toward the ambulance, Sarah stood firm. She felt a new kind of empowerment swelling inside her, both for herself and for him. This wasn't about returning to who she was, it was about forging ahead. Matt appeared beside her, his presence steadying. That was brave, Sarah, he murmured, admiration in his tone. Not easy to confront the past. I can do this, she replied, feeling the weight of truth settle in. Not just for him, but for myself too. Emily reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. I'm proud of you. You really are so strong. Sarah smiled, the warmth of their support washing over her. Thank you, but all those moments of doubt pushed me to step up, to remember my worth. I'm no longer scared of facing challenges or running from my truth. The ambulance doors closed, and the vehicle pulled away, leaving the crowd with a hollow silence. But amid the quiet, a new resolve flickered in the air. Sarah felt lighter, more alive. Let us go home, she said, turning to Matt and Emily with a sense of purpose. All together. Their journey home wasn't merely a drive, it was a powerful wave of renewal. As they walked into the warmth of her house, Sarah looked around, seeing the hugs of her kids, their laughter bubbling like music in the air. She was home, truly home. The shadows of doubt had slipped away, replaced by a brilliant ray of hope. She realized then that her choices carved paths not just for her, but for her children too. Tomorrow would come with its own challenges, but she could face them head-on. Growth came. Along with discomfort, and pain could be transformed into strength. Reflecting on the evening, her heart lightened. She had reclaimed her own narrative in the face of turmoil, shaping her future with the lessons of her past. As she turned to her family, a radiant smile danced across her face, content in the knowledge that she was no longer merely surviving but embracing life with open arms. This was not just her story, it was a reminder that strength is born from storms, and with every storm survived, she would rise again stronger than before, and with newfound clarity, she thought about resilience, love, and second chances, because the world had much more to unfold. The next chapter was just beginning, and she was ready to write it. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and change lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Every click matters. Comment below your reactions and feelings about Sarah's incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment for true fans to stand together and celebrate resilience.